Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to the Ringside Reporter podcast. All the news from the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Eric Lorda.
And we are live. Welcome to the Ringside Reporter show, where we talk about the latest boxing news. If it's related to boxing, we'll talk about it here. My name is Eric Lorton. I'm here with my co-host, Joe Habib. We got a great show for you. If you want to call and ask questions, 323-870-3857. Not a whole lot of action this week, but a really good fight on Thursday. Let's talk about it. ESPN, Teofimo Lopez versus Jermaine Ortiz for the WBO junior welterweight title. Teofimo Lopez wins by unanimous decision over Jermaine Ortiz, 117-111, 115-113 twice. There was a lot of people thought the fight could have went either way. Beeb, I think you had it scored for Ortiz.
Yeah, I had Ortiz edging it, and but as I told you earlier, I knew he wasn't going to get the decision. I know how Steve Weisfeld scores fights, and I knew at least he wasn't going to give that. He wasn't going to score that fight for Ortiz. I know he has a pattern of scoring for the guy who goes forward and stuff like that. And Ring IQ made a point. You know, if you look back in history, when we see fights like this, very rarely does the guy who's moving and fighting off the back foot ever get the decision in close contests like this. We can go down the line and look at it.
Let me tell you something, man. Yeah, that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. So I agree with Ring IQ, and I mean history has proven him to be correct in that assessment. So yeah, you're in there with the A side. I know there's these unwritten rules that you got to take it from the champion, but subconsciously in a close round, I do think the judges will favor the A side fighter or the champion. I think that's kind of a built-in mechanism that a lot of judges have. And when they're watching the fight, they have their own view of what's going on. They can't see what we see watching at home. The camera angles are much different. So many times when I've gone to fights live and went home and watched them again, it's like two different fights. So when you see a guy moving forward and you're not actually seeing the punches land or not, then you're not CompuBox. You can't count, you're not counting the punches at home. So you don't know what's actually landing or what's not. So you're going to go with the guy who appears to you to be the more aggressive guy. I understand how that can happen in a lot of instances, but I don't think this was a good look for Teo. And people say it's not a good look for Jermaine Ortiz. Okay, I can understand that point too. But here's the problem: when you're Teofimo Lopez, you're the A side, you're the 7-1 favorite. Whether you like it or not, more is going to be expected of you than Jermaine Ortiz. That's what I believe. People can disagree.
Absolutely.
People can disagree with that if they want, but you are going to be held to a higher standard. You want the praise and the accolades, okay, that comes along with being a fighter of your stature, then you have to accept the expectations that go along with that. It's that simple.
I thought that, I didn't score the fight, but I did think that Teofimo did enough to win. I thought he won it. It's hard. Like you said, I mean, it's hard to win a fight going backwards. And very few people can do that. Floyd Mayweather, Pernell Whitaker, you figure, people like that. Those guys all win fights and they all go backwards. They make you fight their fight. Jermaine Ortiz is just not that effective. You know what I mean? He's not one of those guys. And you also got to figure out those guys, when they move backwards, they're throwing tons of shots too.
Yeah.
And they're dominating the action. They're actually controlling you, not you controlling them. They're making you come to them. They're not running. There's a big difference.
Well, I don't know if you agree with this point or not, but I think we both had said in the past that Teofimo, it's all about the mental game with him, whether he's up for the fight or not. But I'm going to concede that I'm wrong about that. I think this is a style deficiency with Teofimo Lopez. I think if you fight him on the outside, stick and move, circle him, give him that space, and put him in a position where he has to be the initiating party here, when he has to be the guy trying to initiate the offense, he's a pure counterpuncher. If you don't come to him, he's not as comfortable. He doesn't like to have to move forward. He doesn't like to have to chase you down. He doesn't like when the space is created and he has to close the gap. He doesn't like when the guy is not coming right at him and setting up shop in the mid-range. So we've seen this with Nakatani. He didn't look great in that fight because there was space. Nakatani's a tall, long guy. He was fighting him at a distance. He wasn't going all the way in. He wasn't really stepping in deep into that pocket. We saw it with Sandor Martin. Even with Pedro Campo in spots, we saw it. But again, he didn't have the athleticism and the foot speed to continually keep that space and create that space consistently in that fight. So we have the data now. We've seen a pattern here with this specific style. And I think moving forward, fighters are going to look at this and say, this is the blueprint to beat this guy. And quite frankly, because of what I've seen in these specific fights, I think Devin Haney runs circles around Teofimo Lopez based off of what I saw. So this is not, I mean, he is still a couple sandwiches short of a picnic. Don't get me wrong. He is a nut, but it's more than that. This is the style that he just doesn't like to fight and is not comfortable fighting, in my opinion. And I think the data supports what I'm saying.
And this hurts him a lot because his father's there. His father's going to train him. It's just those two. The father is not going to he's got too much control over the situation to let anybody else come in there, fix anything or do anything, or, it's going to be the style he has is just the style he has. And the deficiencies he has will not be corrected. So this is the fighter that you're going to see time in and time out. So if you're a promoter or you're a matchmaker, you have to put him with guys that are going to complement his style. Jermaine Ortiz is not going to complement his style. Devin Haney is not going to complement his style.
Yeah.
You got to put him in against guys that are going to come after you. Richard Comey, perfect. That was a perfect matchup for him.
Even Lomachenko, this is the misconception about Lomachenko and Alexander Usyk. Oh, these guys, they move great. They're very elusive. They're hard to hit. Okay, that's true to a point. But when you're fighting a guy like Lomachenko and Alexander Usyk, they do move laterally, but they always stop and dart in straight. So they're going to come to you. You got a guy who's moving in and out. That person's coming to you. It's different than a guy who's going to circle you around the perimeter of the ring and fight you at a distance. Lomachenko and Usyk are mid-range guys. That's where they like to attack from. Okay, when you got a guy like Devin Haney who can fight on the perimeter very effectively, right? A guy like Sandor Martin who can fight on the perimeter very effectively, right? And the guy that Regis Prograis struggled with, Zora, fight on the perimeter very effectively. Those mid-range counterpunchers have problems with that style. Now, Floyd is a counterpuncher, but he had a phenomenal jab. He had very long arms, right? He could fight in a multitude of ways. This is where Floyd does not get credit for his versatility. And he had enough pop where you're not just going to walk through the guy, right? Guys like Teofimo Lopez and Regis Prograis, even though they have pop, they need that forward momentum coming at them to be effective. Yeah. Neither guy is great with their jab. They're not the guy. Teofimo Lopez landed 12 jabs the whole fight. That's averaging one jab a round.
That's an insane stat.
He threw 364 punches. Now, Floyd has never been known as a volume guy, but he would consistently throw in the 550 to 600 punch range, even though he wasn't a volume guy. He would consistently land at a 45 to 50% percentage.
Yeah.
Teofimo Lopez landed 21% of his shots. You cannot be an elite fighter and only land 21% of your punches. And then people are saying, well, what did Jermaine Ortiz do? Not much.
Doesn't matter.
Not much less than what Teofimo Lopez did.
We're not mentioning Jermaine Ortiz in the elite class. He's a good fighter. He's a great contender. But he's not in that elite class. He's not beating the Josh Taylors. He's not beating those big guys. And so who cares,
And most people did think, for all these people who want to go to this appeal to the populace, because when we were having this debate, not you and I, but when I was debating this with the Lomachenko-Haney fight, the people who scored for Haney we're all being shamed because, everyone thought Lomachenko win. Okay, let's apply that logic to this fight. I saw polls on Twitter, but the majority of people did think Ortiz won this fight. So
A lot of people did.
Are we going to appeal to the populace in this situation? This is why I tell everybody, there are going to be certain situations, and you and I have definitely been on the end of this, where you're going to just be in the minority of the opinion.
Yeah.
And you have to accept that. So if your argument's going to be, well, everyone said this, everyone said that, then guess what? You know what you do? Just wait till the end of the fight, jump on Twitter, and then just ride the wave.
Ride the wave. That's it.
Ride the wave. That's
no
not what I
opinion
do
for
over
yourself.
here.
You do.
Yeah.
What did you think of the fight? It's not even a question of who everybody else thought won. Like I said, you thought Ortiz won. I thought that Teo won, but it's not about that. It's about, you know what I mean? Like, give your own opinion. Don't jump on the bandwagon. And
in defense to you, you're not out there calling everyone crazy and gaslighting everybody who scored the fight for Ortiz, like the other scorecard police people on Twitter love to do.
This is a good question. Tony Yayo says, was Josh Taylor washed? No, I don't believe he was. I don't. I think that it was, after watching that fight, it looked like a bad matchup. Again, remember, I always go back to this, Beeb. The book that we reviewed, and in the book,
awesome. That was awesome.
90, he said, what did he say? 98% or 95% of fights are fixed. And they're not fixed in the way you think about with mob guys and everything like that. They're fixed by the matchmakers. Like, we see a deficiency in fighter B that I know my fighter A is going to be able to exploit in that fight, and he will win this fight. Whether he does it by knockout or decision, he's winning this fight.
Yeah.
Case closed. And that's what we looked at. I think that's what we look at when we see a lot of these fights. The fight last night, the fight Thursday, Teofimo should have been able to walk this guy down. He should have been able to walk this fight. But we all said prior to the fight that Jermaine Ortiz is a live dog. This is not a bad fight.
I said
this
it.
is not.
We said it. We said it. A lot of other people were like, Teo. A lot of people were saying, Teo's due for a knockout, blah, blah, blah. Listen, you're not due for anything.
No.
What fucking
you
happens?
Make your own.
I can walk in and work tomorrow and say, hey, I'm due for a raise.
Right.
Why? Well, I just think I'm due for it. Okay,
here you go. You're due for a pink slip.
Here you go. Here's the money.
Right. They just count it out,
No one's given anything. Okay, no one's due anything. This isn't fucking okay. He hasn't had a knockout for such and such amount of time. He's gonna get it. No, it's about the styles. People don't want to look at the styles. They look at the names, but they don't look what's behind the names, which is the styles. It's that simple.
That's it, man. That's it. It's styles. Styles make fights. That's the old adage. So there you go. What's next? And I don't know. You listen to Teofimo after the interviews, before the interviews, you always wonder, he's always that guy. He's almost like a Keith Thurman in the sense that, you remember the Keith Thurman Pacquiao fight? We said that if Keith Thurman is on his game and he's this and he's that, like, all the stars have to align for this guy to win. And I think it's the same thing. I get the same feeling for Teo. Like, everything has to be perfect for him to go out there and perform like you think he's going to perform. But, what's next for him?
Teofimo Lopez?
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. If I am them, right, if I'm top rank, I know Subriel Matias is going to be fighting Pablo next, the Australian guy, Paro, excuse me, not Pablo, Paro. He's going to be fighting Paro, the Australian guy that Eddie Hearn promotes. Mm-hmm. And he should get through Paro because Paro is a great fighter. But again, we go back to the styles. This is a guy that's going to come at Subriel Matias. He's just not going to have the firepower to deal with Subriel Matias. I think Subriel Matias' style may be more suited towards Teofimo Lopez, and that's a unification fight. That's a fight where, although it's dangerous, Teo may be able to.
That's a good fight.
He'll look good in that fight because that's a guy who's going to come at him and attack.
And that is a big fight. That is a big time fight, man. It really is.
Ryan Hong says Liam Paro is live, but I don't know. I just think because if
he also just said, but he will get stopped.
Yeah, he's probably going to get. I like Liam Paro. I like
He's
Liam
live,
Paro
but
a lot.
not really.
He'll be alive as long as he doesn't, right before up until the point he gets knocked out, and then he won't be alive anymore. But quite honestly, Subriel Matias is a great stylistic matchup for Teofimo Lopez. He'll have
you can favor Tio in that all you want, man, but that guy I don't believe is any joke, man. I think he might be the real deal.
He presents danger,
Mm-hmm.
but again, Tio can punch too. And,
yeah.
He'll have the advantages in hand speed, foot speed, Tio will. And this is a fight where the guy will come to him. He won't have to chase him.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a great fight for Teofimo Lopez. He should try to do that fight. I guess they're going to be fighting Liam Paro and Subriel Matias are going to be fighting in June. So if Tio can get back out there, in November or December, and he could put a fight together with Subriel Matias, I think that's a good matchup. And then once again, you pick up another belt if you win, and you have maybe some leverage here going into some fights with these other guys. Yeah. I don't think Ryan Garcia is going to beat Devin Haney. I know we're going to get to that later. Another fight could be the winner of Rolly Romero versus
Isaac Cruz.
Isaac Cruz. Yeah, that's another great one.
Yeah, I tell you what, I think Romero wins that fight. I really do. I think Romero wins that fight because Isaac Cruz has not looked good since his loss to Tank Davis.
Correct.
His loss. And I'll put that in emphasis, because he didn't win that fight. He put up a good performance. No question. But he lost the fight. And if you scored the fight, he still lost the fight.
But once again, you have Teofimo Lopez being put in a position where he could pick up another belt, and in a very winnable fight with Rolly Romero, another guy who's going to come right to him. So then he'll pick up 3 belts, and the crescendo at the end of the tunnel would be Devin Haney. And at that point, you got a guy with 3 belts versus Devin Haney with 1. It's undisputed. I think Devin Haney, his fight with Ryan Garcia will be a breakout fight for him. His profile will be elevated. And off the back of Devin Haney, I think that fight with Teofimo Lopez would be a very, very lucrative fight when it's all said and done.
If we can get to that point, to a Teofimo and Devin Haney, it's a big fight.
We don't do that next if I'm Teofimo's team, but
right.
What will that's the final piece in the puzzle, I would say.
Yeah. And G Funky, thank you so much. He says, good morning, Beeb and Eric. Boxing took another L with that awful main event. Shaking my head. It wasn't a great fight. It really wasn't.
It wasn't a great fight.
It was hard to watch. It was a boring fight. Not boring, but there was not a fan-friendly fight. We'll just say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like defensive fighters just as much as anybody, but yeah, it was a little, I was just surprised at how well he was able to frustrate him during that fight. How he was able to frustrate Lopez during that fight. And it was just like, man, I mean, like I said, I gave the fight to him, but at the same time, man, it was just like, I think it was one of those fights where I'm watching it and I'm picturing him against Devin Haney or him against somebody else, and I'm like, wow. I mean, he's going to get dog walked in there.
Neither you or I are clairvoyant, but we had an indication. We had a feeling that this fight was going to play out. Probably not to the extent, but we knew somewhat this was going to be kind of a fight where Tio was going to have to extend himself, and he wasn't going. This was not a fight he was going to look spectacular in. I think we both said that before the fight.
Yeah, and it like I said, it was a good matchup, but it wasn't good style matchups.
Yeah,
Yeah. So there you go. Let's talk about that undercard for a minute here. Keyshawn Davis versus Jose Pedraza. Keyshawn Davis with a TKO over Pedraza in the 6th. Let me tell you what, Davis dominated this fight. I thought he just, won it from start to finish, to be honest with you. Pedraza looked slow. His legs looked shocked, or his leg looked shot. He was aggressor for a lot of this fight, and that's not usually his game. If you notice that, and maybe it was Keyshawn more moving backwards, making him walk to him, but that's not really Pedraza's game. And I think he fights like that. I'll be honest with you. Just like I say with all the other fighters who have a defensive style. And then later on in their career, what's the big thing they say, Beeb? I wanted to give the fans an entertaining fight. I wanted to be toe-to-toe. That is code for my legs are shot and I can't do this anymore. All right. And that's what I saw from Pedraza. His legs are gone. He still has some skill, but his legs are gone now.
He's definitely a shell of himself. And he moved up to 140 for a reason. And then he decides to go back down to 135. I'm sure he got paid to do that. And not many people had high expectations for Jose Pedraza in this fight. And it was somewhat of a foregone conclusion that Davis was going to knock him out. So
I thought Davis was going to win the fight. I didn't think Pedraza was going to look that bad.
Yeah, I kind of did. He hasn't been looking great lately. And
he's been around for a minute.
He's been around. He's been taking some tough losses. And I didn't like the fact that he was going back down to 135. I just didn't like it.
That's tough for him. That weight cut I think was probably tough for him. But then, not only that, you got a former Olympian in front of you. That's never easy.
It's never easy.
Those guys are the cream of the crop coming out, man. All those Olympic fighters, because they've seen every style imaginable in every part of the world. There's nothing that you're going to throw at them that's going to confuse them, that they haven't seen before in sparring or in the ring. All the Olympic guys are typically well-schooled. And this is from anybody coming out of that Olympics, They're always well-schooled. They do the basics very well. And again, their boxing IQ is, again, through the roof.
I agree.
Because of all their experience, man. Let me tell you what I saw from Keyshawn Davis that I really liked the other night is that when he gets in a clinch, when you see him get in a clinch, when you see him come close, anything like that, after a combination, you watch him after a combination. This 9 times out of 10, what he does, he controls the head movement of the other guy, grabs him, always putting him out of position. They can't punch. He'll grab onto him. He'll push him to the side. He'll always be in a defensive posture and always ready to strike. The head control, and that's what you see. All great fighters, all really great fighters, all really great champions. You watch that. That is the one thing that I always notice, the footwork, and I always notice the head control of the opponent. And if they can do that, they put themselves in better positions, and that's what it's all about. It's about getting in a better position than your opponent. And he does that really well. He really does.
What did you think of him calling out Teofimo Lopez after the fight? Is that a little bit too soon for him? What do you think?
Everybody knows it's too soon for him. I think everybody knows it's too soon for him.
Yeah.
But I will tell you what, man, he's got something. He's got something in him that I see. He'll be a champion. Now, will he be Devin Haney? I don't know. Will he be the next guy? I don't know. But he looks good. He really does. He looks good.
The one problematic thing with Teofimo Lopez too is after the fights, even when he doesn't look great, he thinks like, oh, I blew the guy out of there. I won. I give myself a 10 out of 10. It's like, if you cannot honestly critique your performance, if you go back and look, and I don't know if this is just him, projecting, and maybe deep down inside he doesn't believe the things he's saying, but if he does believe what he's saying and he thinks that what he did was a 10 out of 10, the problem is moving forward. How do you improve when you don't think there's anything to improve on? And Deontay Wilder had the same problem. Like, he was always in denial when he didn't look great in a fight. It was always a reason behind it. And when you have that mentality of it's never me, it's always an outside factor or somebody else, or it's his fault, then look, guys are going to do that. You're going to find guys who are going to be like you did. Sandra Martin did it to you. This gentleman did it to you, Ortiz. You're going to have to deal with this moving forward probably again. And if you don't realize and figure out that you have to make some adjustments moving forward when you're presented with this type of style, how are you ever going to be able to tackle this type of style and improve moving forward? That's the problem,
Well, I can play devil's advocate here. And after the fights, you're amped up, you're giving the interviews and everything like that. And, I think those are, to be honest with you, I don't think you can really take him at face value after a fight. You have to watch his next fight. Does he change? does he try to correct some of his mistakes and some of his, his bad habits and that sort of thing? Because after the fight, they're amped up, they're keyed. They don't want to hear, and especially if they won the fight, they don't want to hear how awful they looked. You know what I mean? They want to hear, so it's there's a lot of bluster. So behind the scenes is where those talks have to occur. Those real talks have to occur. You can project whatever character you want to project to the public, but behind the scenes, that has to be 100%. You know what I mean?
Let me play devil's advocate to your devil's advocate. When you got a father where the son is the meal ticket, do you really want to like ruffle feathers, or are you gonna keep telling him what he wants to hear because you don't want to get fired? You know what I'm saying? I mean, because if your dad, like here, this is what you got to give Bill Haney credit for. Bill Haney is a master manager, right? And he's a very humble person. He has brought in and will bring in outside people to help Devin.
That's the right way to do it.
He brought in Bet Davidson. You know, they've worked with other guys before. You know, Floyd Mayweather has had an impact on Devin Haney. And Bill doesn't believe that he's the be-all, end-all of knowledge when it comes to boxing. He'll take advice and he'll take counsel from other people in the game. Whereas Teo Sr., you
can't tell him anything.
You can't tell
He'll
this guy
tell
anything.
You know?
What happened to Joey Gamache? Joey Gamache was in there for a short period of time in that corner, and he's gone. Mm-hmm. So what's going on here?
Gamache is a good trainer.
Good trainer.
He's a good fighter, good trainer, yeah.
Yeah, good fighter, good trainer, former champion. He knows what he's doing. So, same thing with Artur Beterbiev. He has a great trainer in Mark Ramsey, but he said to Mark Ramsey, can you get another guy in the team who was a fighter too? And in came John Scully.
Yeah.
Russ Amber. People know him as a cut man, but this guy has also trained fighters before too. So now you got the best of both worlds. You got three boxing minds in there that can work together cohesively to help you. Yeah. You got three sets of eyes, helping you. But you got this guy and his father who will basically tell him that he can do no wrong. Oh, he won. Telling him that he won the Kambosos fight 10 rounds to 2. There's no way you won that fight 10 rounds to 2. So if you have people around you that are going to perpetuate this fantasy world, how do you get better?
Yeah,
that's an
in
issue.
Teal's case. Teal's not getting better. That's what we said. He's not getting better because he's got the same trainer. He's doing the same things, and nothing ever changes. No matter what style you fight, whatever you look like in the fight, nothing ever changes. And you're right. If he would have done this, if he wasn't running, if he wasn't doing this, and this, great. But he's still in front of you. You got to finish that fight. And on Super Bowl weekend, main event on a Thursday, nothing else is on TV. No sports, no nothing. You're in the main event and you do that. That's the performance you put out. Not good. Not a good look. Not a good look.
And again, it looks worse for you than it does Jermaine Ortiz.
Yes.
More is expected of you.
Sure.
It's that simple.
Nobody expected anything out of Jermaine Ortiz. I mean, realistically, any casual fan out there, we all said, like I said, man, we said that Jermaine Ortiz is live. It's going to be he's going to give him some resistance. Put it that way.
I told people, I said the bet to make, Teofimo by decision.
Yeah, you're right.
That's what I told people.
Yep.
That's my advice.
And that's the thing, man. Like, we know he's not going to look good, but we knew he was a durable guy. I didn't think he was going to win. I didn't think he won. But either way, this was not your best moment. You know what I mean? Was not your best moment. This is the time to go back before you get a top level champion in front of you. You're not going to be able to finish it.
Remember that movie White Man Can't Jump when Rosie Perez was talking to Woody Harrelson and he goes, Billy, sometimes when you win, you really lose.
Yes.
And sometimes when you lose, you really win. And sometimes it's a tie. This wasn't a tie. This was
you
one
lost.
Of those.
You won,
one
but
of those
you lost.
Occasions
yeah.
When you lost, when you won.
That is such a good line too, because it's so you can apply it. You know what I mean? You can really apply it. You really can.
That's funny.
I like your Rosie Perez voice too. That was great. That was a good imitation.
People don't realize my talent.
The old Puerto Rican lady, you know.
Should have seen me. Should have seen some of my old screen tests.
Screen test. You have headshots and everything.
I almost got a few roles.
I was this close to working on 90210, you know.
That's right. 50 sideburns. They stole that look from me.
The Luke Perry sideburns.
I initiated this.
I thought Liberace initiated it, but hey, what do I know?
No, you don't.
Abdullah Mason, who's an up-and-comer, was on the undercard there, won his fight against Benjamin Gurment. Mason wins by a TKO in the second round. Abdullah Mason is an up-and-comer. What do you think? I mean, we've seen him fight before. I didn't actually catch this fight, but we've seen him fight before.
What an explosive
fight,
man. This guy's a highlight reel every time out. And he's going to be someone to reckon with. There's no question about it. What you saw in that fight was a total antithesis, direct opposite of what you saw in the main event.
They should have put him in the main event. You know, he knows how to finish. Him or Keyshawn know how to finish. You know.
Yeah. So this is what you want to see in a young up and coming guy.
But you know, how many fighters have we seen over the years? Just like, and we're going to go back to Tio here, and you know, how many fighters have we seen like this who put on these great performances, you know, one right after the other, and then all of a sudden their career hits this thing where they just look okay. You know, they just look okay here. And Camacho is one that brings up, you know, Hector Camacho, when he fought Edwin Rosario, he had that string, and then he fought Rosario. He's never the same fighter after that.
No.
And you kind of wonder with the Kambosos fight, is Tio a changed fighter? Or was he just limited from the get-go and we just didn't see it?
I just think that he was limited from the get-go and we just didn't see it.
Yeah.
We didn't want to believe it.
Yeah.
Or at least I didn't want to believe it. I admit when I'm wrong. And my initial assessment was it was a mental thing. And maybe it is, but it's more along.
That was mine too. That was ours too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, to me, it just has proven it's a stylistic thing. Same thing with Muhammad Ali. Like, you looked at Joe Frazier and Ken Norton, like the guys that are inside fighters that get low and bob and weave and make a compact target for you. Ali was never a great inside fighter, and he had problems with guys who fought him well on the inside, and he couldn't. Those guys were short. He couldn't reach out and grab them and pull them like he used to like to do with other fighters. Those guys were able to slip out of those clinches from Muhammad Ali, so that's why he went life and death with those guys in a lot of instances. So that's. Some guys just have problems with certain styles. I mean, everyone has their Achilles heel. Like Bobby Ches once said, every man's got a bullet with their name on it. And this style is the bullet with Teofimo Lopez's name on it. It's just that simple.
I thought Bobby Ches is a genius. You realize that?
You know,
he's in Mensa. He's a genius.
Yeah.
Genius level IQ. Yeah.
He was one of my favorite analysts, and you know, he had his demons, and it's a shame.
He was my favorite analyst. I loved him. Yeah, he was good.
It was a shame because of, you know, some of the things in his personal life that it took away from how great he was as an announcer, that he's not still in the game anymore because of a lot of the issues he's had.
We had a lot of drug issues, didn't he?
Yeah, he had some
drug issues.
Yeah, he had some alcohol problems. He was an alcoholic. You know. So that's what kind of derailed his career, you know. Yeah,
and I tell you what, man, I think, like I said, he was one of the great fighters, man. I mean, he was a really good fighter.
He was a guy who got the most out of his physical abilities.
Yes, I agree.
What I mean?
Yeah, he was never a uber talented guy, but you can always tell he worked hard. You knew he was going to come to fight. You knew he was going to come in shape. You know, he was good. I liked him. I liked him a lot. All right, let's talk about the upcoming fights here on ESPN. Let's see what we got here. All right, let me see. When is this fight here? The 15th. Is that Thursday? Yeah, the 15th is Thursday. So what is up with these Thursday night fights, man?
Oh, yeah. Joseph Diaz versus Jesus Perez, as you're talking about?
Yep, on DAZN. Joseph Diaz versus Jesus Perez, 10 rounds, junior welterweights. Ricardo Sandoval versus the dreaded TBA, flyweights, and everything else is TBA. But this is on DAZN in California. February 16th, Friday, ESPN, ESPN Plus. Oshaki Foster versus Abraham Nova, 12 rounds for Foster's WBC junior lightweight title. Brian Chevalier versus Andres Cortez, 10 rounds junior lightweights. Bruce Carrington versus Bernard Torres, 10 rounds featherweights. From DAZN in Mexico, let's see here. On the 16th, Saturday, Adrian Curiel versus Savanathi. No, how do you Nanshinga?
Nanshinga, I believe.
Nanshinga, that sounds right.
Yeah.
12 rounds for Curiel's IBF featherweights, flyweights title. Mauricio Lara versus Daniel Lugo, 10 rounds junior lightweights. DAZN has 2 cards on the 15th and 16th, or that's Friday, excuse me. They have 2 cards on the 15th and 16th. Beeb, are these pay-per-view worthy cards?
Subscription worthy cards you're talking about? Like,
well, you're paying for it.
$20 a month? No, probably not. Yeah. Now, here's the thing, Eric. Once again, we're talking about dollar, value for dollar. Are these fights better than the ones we're getting on ESPN Plus? Because what are we paying for ESPN?
We're paying for ESPN. What is it, $8 a month?
$8 a month. We're paying almost double for DAZN. Are we getting double the quality of fights on DAZN than we are ESPN? As I've said, ESPN and ESPN Plus gives you the greatest value for your dollar. Yeah. And we've never complained about ESPN Plus. We got a card yesterday on ESPN Plus, right? Who was it? I watched a card yesterday on ESPN Plus.
I can't remember who it was. I know what you're talking about, but I can't.
It was overseas.
Yeah,
and that was a great fight. It's a good fight. It was a middleweight versus Liam Williams, I believe. I'm trying to figure out what that middleweight's name is, but he's a up and coming guy. And that was a pretty good card. Anthony Yard was on the card, but once again, that's more value for dollar.
Yeah.
that we're getting on DAZN, and we're Hasim Shiraz. Hasim Shiraz is a middleweight, and that's another guy to keep an eye on. He destroyed Liam Williams in 1 round, and no one's ever done that to Liam Williams. Yeah, so that was another blowout, right? And Liam Williams is a durable guy. He went the distance with guys like Demetrius Andrade. So, he and Chris Eubank Jr. He went the distance with both those guys, and this guy, Hamza Shiraz, just knocked him out in 1 round. So that, and then you had Anthony Yard on that card. That was a decent card, but once again, what are you paying? Like, I think I'm paying, I want to say, what is my membership for ESPN Plus? Because mine's different than yours, because I pay, I don't know, do you pay the whole year up front? I pay the whole year up front.
No, I don't pay the whole year up front. It's just, but we bundle it, I guess, because we have the Disney Channel and we have that other, I don't know, whatever other thing they offer. Hulu, maybe, I don't know.
So I pay $110 a year for that. So it's like $10.99 a month, and I'm paying I think it's $20 a month for DAZN.
So about $240 a year.
Yeah, I think I pay $225 a year, and then I'm paying $109 for that. So I'm paying $116 more a year for DAZN
for less quality.
Yeah, so I'm basically paying almost double, $10 more a month for DAZN.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think ESPN Plus has given me better fights. So,
well, and again, if they came out and just did like they did when they first came out and didn't have pay-per-views, have no problem with it.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're putting on pay-per-views on top of billing us $20 a month is ridiculous.
And then Maestro made a great point, and we talk about this all the time. And he says, you know what it is? You know what it is, Joe? He says, we're paying so much more than all the other countries are. Like when you look at what the UK is paying, what Australia is paying.
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah.
It's almost like we're subsidizing the other countries. Like, why do they pay so much less than we do? And if you're a UK person, you're probably liking DAZN better because they show more UK regional fights than they do American fights. So that's the thing. So when you talk about value for dollar, ESPN Plus is destroying DAZN because we're getting Inoue fights, we're getting Anthony Yard. We're getting a lot of these guys. We're getting Shiraz. We're getting a lot of guys, right? We're not getting. I think what channel is that Fabio Wardley fight on? Fabio Wardley is going to be is fighting. Who's he fighting? I'm trying to remember. My fucking memory. My memory's gone. I think he's going to be fighting. Frazier Clark. Yeah. So Fabio Wardley, Frazier Clark. I think that may be on. I'm not sure 100% if that's going to be on ESPN Plus too, because that's another good regional heavyweight fight that's going to be very entertaining. I believe. I think that's going to be maybe an ESPN Plus card too. So, and then you got Peacock in the mix, right? Most people have Peacock included in their cable subscription, and in Peacock, even if you buy it as a standalone, it's still cheaper, right? Mm-hmm. So DAZN is the most expensive out of the bunch, but they have not given us the best fights. If I'm
giving us the worst fights,
yeah,
they're way behind as far as what's going on.
The UK fans, they get mad at me when I say this. Base the kid hates when I criticize DAZN, but you have to understand, Base, I'm paying double what you're paying.
Yeah.
If I was paying what you're paying,
wouldn't have a problem.
And then Eric brings these things up to me, I would defend you, but I can't defend you. I can't defend your argument, not defend you per se, Base, but defend your argument because I'm paying double what you're paying, and I'm getting better fights on ESPN Plus. So
agreed. All right, let's go to Ringside Robert. He's on the line here. Robert, you're live.
Okay. Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
You set the alarm clock a little early this time?
Joe,
what time is it over there?
Joe, it's after 8 o'clock. Joe, let me correct you. Let me correct you. The Fabio Wardley and Frazier Clark fight will be on Peacock. That'll be Easter Sunday.
Well, again, that's another fight that's not going to be on DAZN, but that's a great fight. Thank you for that correction. I wasn't 100% sure where that was going to be. Is that going to be a boxer? Yep. Is Boxer promoting that card?
That'll be a boxer. That'll be a boxer. That's
so once again,
March 30th.
That's another great UK regional fight that's not going to be on DAZN.
Yeah.
Thank you for that correction, Robbie. It's about time you stepped up and did something helpful.
You're welcome. Hey, you're welcome. And you know what? The Thursday night fight with Teofimo Lopez reminded me a lot of the Shakur Stevenson fight, which also occurred on a Thursday in Las Vegas.
The Thursday night curse. It reminded
me of that because of
the Thursday night curse, Robbie. What do you think of that?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Whenever ESPN puts on these Thursday night fights, the main event turns out bad. They're 2 for 2 so far.
This is a conspiracy, Robbie?
And I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that because after that fight, now you got Stevenson saying, "Well, I'm going to retire."
Let me ask you this, Robbie. Are you insinuating that ESPN is intentionally doing this to us?
Sounds like it.
No.
I don't know, man. I don't like this conspiracy theory you're putting out there, man. Like these guys are getting instructions to stink out the joint because the fight's on a Thursday. I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like these accusations.
Oh, and Eric, I'm gonna add more fire to the Thursday thing. Remember, you were just
more
reading
conspiracy
the schedule.
Theories. Continue.
And DAZN has a Thursday night card. Well, you know why the undercard is so bad? Who's promoting that? That's Oscar De La Hoya.
De La Hoya's cards suck.
Taking shots at the Golden Boy now.
100%. 9 out of 10 De La Hoya cards suck, man. They really do.
Yeah, that. So whenever you read these cards and they're either on a Thursday or a Friday, and you don't like the undercards, 9 times out of 10 it's going to beat Oscar De La Hoya card.
Mm-hmm.
So keep that in mind. It is so. And now DAZN is very good when you're watching their fights. They're very good about talking about their upcoming schedule. It is so not important. They didn't even list it when I watched their fights on Saturday. They listed the Friday fights, but they
First of all,
they didn't list the Thursday. Yeah,
I don't subscribe to a platform to hear them tell me
right.
about their upcoming schedule. That's not like an asset to me. You know why? Because I could just go online.
Right.
You can just go online, or you can just hit the schedule
Well,
button on
that's
the
true.
app, and you'll know when the fights are. So you're gonna try to
true.
use that as a justification as to why they're charging double of everyone else, because they
No.
tell you
Beav,
the schedule? What
Joe,
kind of craziness is this you're
wasn't
trying to put out to
talking
our
about-
audience? That's an added
I
bonus,
wasn't-
and you're trying to justify the
Oh.
added price of the subscription. What are you going here?
Now, may I remind you, what was it, a week or two ago, you talked about the zone and how the fact you're only paying $18.75 and you're going to keep your subscription the way it is, because if you canceled it and decided to pay by the month, it'd be $30 a month?
No, it'd be $25 a month.
Okay. Because you and Eric said it would be $30 a month if you canceled and went by the month.
The transcript, you're misrepresenting what we said.
Okay. Anyway,
your propaganda. Go ahead.
But no, give me a break. But no, as far as Lopez is concerned, I think Teofimo Lopez, as long as he has his dad around, and we know that'll never change, is going to be the fighter that he is. And if you're Todd DeBuff and all those people at Top Rank, you're going to have to be very careful from now on about what kind of fights you put him in, because I guarantee you, I believe that Devin Haney will beat Ryan Garcia and beat him easily. I think Devin Haney will do the same thing to Teofimo Lopez.
I agree.
There you go.
I agree.
You go. All right.
So
who do you got today, Robert?
And as far as all right,
who do you got today?
I have the Kansas City Chiefs.
Me too, Robert. Me too.
I think it's almost. I think it's almost impossible, Eric. And believe me, I'm in a situation where I don't like either team here, because the Kansas City Chiefs are my division rival. And growing up around San Francisco, I hate the 49ers. But
hate's a strong word.
Patrick Mahomes is starting to remind me a lot of Tom Brady.
You hated Joe Montana?
When you grow up a Raider fan, you don't like the 49ers, Joe.
Yeah, but hate? Did you really hate the 49ers, or maybe you just didn't like them?
No. What I mean by hate, Steve, I don't hate the guy.
What's wrong with
terrible.
you, Steve? What's wrong?
You shouldn't hate anybody, first of all.
Let me tell you what, I hate the 49ers. I hate them.
There are certain football players, once they discover that they're very good, it's one of these love-hate relationships, and Montana fit in that category, Brady fit in that category. Well, Patrick Mahomes
hate Tom Brady too.
You
hate Tom Brady too.
He seems like such a nice guy too.
This guy's an all-time great. You hate him
anyway.
too.
Oh, that's cold-blooded, man.
He's the greatest quarterback that's ever played, but I have a feeling by the time Patrick Mahomes is done,
you could be right.
He's going to be in the same discussion.
Nah.
One last question, Robbie, before you go. One last question before you go.
Okay.
I'm curious to hear your answer to this. So they're saying PBC, and I suspected this, they're saying PBC is going to be getting another platform, another broadcaster. Who do you think that's going to be?
Oh, I figured that. Do we have any idea who it would be?
No, I'm asking you. Guess. If you were to guess, who do you think it's going to be? Who's the other platform they're going to?
I think they might go with Peacock.
That's what I think.
Who's this? Amazon or who?
No, PBC said they're going to get another broadcaster to go alongside Amazon.
Oh, Amazon.
To show their fights.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be Netflix.
Netflix has never shown live sports, so I don't know how that would go.
No, but they're going to be showing
live
sports. They're going to be showing live sports.
Yeah.
So they may be in the mix too.
But after what I saw, Joe, a couple of weeks ago with that Peacock card, that is the best stream we have, and I would love to see them get more fights.
Yeah, they have a good strain.
I agree.
Yeah.
Grievous says, why are American footballers paid silly wages equals insult to the public? Really? You guys looked at those European soccer wages? Are you guys crazy? Ronaldo's getting $1 billion over there in Saudi? Stop it.
Highest paid athlete in the world is
Yeah.
a soccer player. What are you talking about?
Right.
Or a football player, as you like to call it, over there.
It's still soccer over there.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I know, man. I'm a boxing fan. I don't understand.
Me too.
Sports. I mean, please.
Me too. All right, Robert, we're going to get running, man. I'm going to put you on hold.
Take a hike.
Oh, okay.
What did you say?
Take a hike.
Hey, just giving him a hard time just to give him a hard time.
Well, you got to hold this guy to a higher standard, all right? He's been around for 70 years, man. You should know.
70 years.
You should know what the hell he's talking about, first of all.
Stop it. What's the matter with you? All right, news and rumors here. Let's buzz through this. Hey, Beeb. I don't know. Did you know that the Devin Haney Ryan Garcia fight has been made for April 20th?
I did.
Did you know that? How did you know that? I'm going to tell you how you knew, because I told you. Mike Coppinger, my friend, my mentor, my best friend of the show.
Not a friend of the
Mike
show.
Coppinger, he's a friend of the show because I said he's a friend of the show.
Yes.
Mike Coppinger reported it first. Haney and Garcia will be set for April 20th on DAZN pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't you think you owe Mike an apology?
No, I mean, because if you subscribe to Dan Raphael's Substack, which I don't, but someone sent me a link to that. Someone sent me a screenshot of Dan Raphael's Substack. He already predicted this was going to happen way before Mike Coppinger. So this is secondhand information. As always.
What it is a confirmation, and I think Dan Raphael held out a few more days before he announced it. I know Cop was first, as usual. I want you to admit it. Acknowledge him.
Cop is really great.
There you go. All right, there we go.
Putting secondhand information.
Ryan Garcia opened as a heavy underdog to Devin Haney, as we expected. I think he's like a 7-2 underdog or something like that. What are your thoughts on this? I think Haney beats him. I think that this is a bad style matchup for Garcia. However, I will say, I think they fought a couple of times in the amateurs, and they both split those fights. Sometimes Garcia won half, Haney won half. I think that Haney's been developed a little better as a professional than Garcia has. I think that Garcia has a problem taking criticism. I think he has a problem taking advice. I think that was evident with his, when he went to, he went to Goosen and then dropped him, wasn't it?
Yeah. After one fight.
Yeah. And it's like, he came in, that was after the Tank fight, and he came in and he did his, and Goosen's a good trainer, man. But if you're going to tell Goosen how the fight's going to go and how, that's what your trainers are for.
Yeah.
And they can get you into shape and they can do whatever you want, but that's what the trainers are for. They're there to help you win the fight, not for you to formulate a game plan and win the fight. They see more than you do.
I don't know if you watch the Patrick Bet-David podcast. It's called the PBD podcast. You may or may not watch it, but
I don't.
He was on the PBD podcast, and all he did, Ryan Garcia, was just constantly make excuses for everything that didn't go his way, everything that was wrong. And, talking about how much he loves Floyd Mayweather. And it's like, dude, the reason why Floyd Mayweather was talking to you is because he was trying to put together a fight between you and his fighter, Rolly Romero. It was not because he loved you. It was strictly a business move. And for you, and even PBD was kind of saying, like, this guy, Floyd, knows what he's doing. He's sly. Pretty much said it not in so many words that's what was going on. And it's like, this guy is just so naive. And again, he's very fortunate because he has that look, right? He has that matinee superstar look where he was able to get a lot of followers. All the power to you. You got a lot of sponsors. You could probably make just survive off of not even fighting and the money you make outside the ring could sustain you. I mean, I get that, and the boxing is just an added benefit to all of it. But This guy, if you were watching the show live, all the comments were like, "Wow, this guy never takes accountability for anything. All this guy does is make excuses." Like, he just comes off so bad to the public, and all he did was talk about God, 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 God,
Yeah.
God, God. Meanwhile, when the next sentence after talking about God is you're dropping F-bombs. So, I mean, are you really this religious person that you say you are, or like, what's going on here, man? Like, Steve Kim said this about Teofimo Lopez and a lot of other fighters. These guys want to just come on and be like, they want to act like they're philosophers instead of like, they want to talk and they want to try to put out these messages of,
Right.
say these like Teo talking about pyramids after the fucking fight with Ortiz and stuff. And it's like, just be yourself. Go out there and
Shut up. Yeah,
fight.
exactly.
Just shut up. No one wants to hear this garbage. You know?
I agree. I tell you what, Ryan Garcia, like you said, he does come up with a lot of excuses, a lot of this, a lot of that. You know who did the same thing, right? His promoter, De La Hoya, always blamed somebody else.
Yeah.
Never took accountability, always blamed somebody else for his losses. Took credit for his wins, but blamed everybody else for his losses.
Correct.
Let's talk about this one, Beeb. Canelo versus Crawford. Is it next?
Well, Crawford's been dropping out hints, right? And he came out a couple weeks ago. I think it was last week, if I'm not mistaken, not a couple weeks ago. He said Canelo versus Crawford is the biggest fight in boxing. He may be right.
It's absolutely, yeah, I think it is.
He also showed footage of him training. He also showed footage of him sparring with a super middleweight. Mm-hmm. So I just think that, and I also, like I said, I heard from a Benavidez person that fight is likely going to happen in September with Canelo, right? I've been hearing that. So I do believe that Crawford will be on May 4th, and I do believe Benavidez will be in September. And the reason why is, to me, financially, those are the two biggest fights for Canelo, in my opinion. And I don't even think it's really an opinion, right? People think that Munguia fight will be huge. I don't know. Like, Benavidez, I think, has still garnered more eyeballs than Munguia. Benavidez has already been on pay-per-view. Benavidez has a following in that area, and Benavidez was a former champion. Benavidez is considered the second best fighter in the division. I just think that's a monster of a fight. I'm not saying the Munguia fight wouldn't be a big fight either, but I think if you were to put all three of these fights and you were to say which fight would generate the most revenue, I think the Crawford Canelo would be number one.
Yeah.
And I think Benavidez Canelo would be number two. And then Munguia versus Canelo could possibly be three. I don't think Munguia has developed that profile yet. Now, I'm not saying Benavidez is a household name either, but I do think he's been exposed to more eyeballs than Munguia.
I think so. Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. I think that the Munguia and Canelo fight is a big fight. Don't get me wrong; it's a huge fight, but I think more people know of Benavidez than know of Munguia. Munguia is probably more popular in Mexico.
And here's another thing too, Eric. The same people that keep talking about this Munguia fight, they were the same people that said he was going to fight Berlanga, and they were grossly wrong. Then they said it was Charlo, and now they're back to Munguia. Again, a lot of cops say that. A lot of this is propaganda, in my opinion. So
yeah.
And then when you look at it from a financial standpoint, right? If PBC did these two fights, they wouldn't be split. These two fights would be in-house fights. Whereas if they're going to do the Munguia fight, they would have to be working with Golden Boy, right? Which they don't have a great relationship with anyways. So one thing about PBC is they're going to do what's best for PBC, right? And these two fights would be in-house fights, and they would be in full control of everything. There would be no compromises really to be made, because if you're going with Munguia, then you got to deal with the zone, you got to deal with De La Hoya.
Yeah.
And the only time they want to do that is when they really have to. And in this case, they wouldn't have to do that to be in to make the two biggest fights. They don't have to work go across the street to do that. The only time they'll do that is when they need to do that. In this case, they don't need to do that. So I don't see them doing DAZN, Oscar De La Hoya, or Munguia a favor here. They're going to do what's best for them and their fighters that they have under their banner.
Yeah.
And that's why, to me, Crawford next, David in September. Well, but what if he loses to Crawford? Again, this guy's going to always have a rematch clause, and then David would have to be the fight after that, or Crawford could drop like vacate the belts, and then Benavidez versus Canelo could be for a vacant title. But I think the more likely scenario is Canelo will be protected on the back end. I think he'll have rematch clauses in both fights with Crawford and Benavidez. So either way, you'd get a rematch, and the fight could be bigger than the initial fight. Yeah. So I think from a monetary standpoint, it makes sense to do Crawford next, then Benavidez in September, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so. I would love to see the Crawford fight. I think that's an unbelievable fight. That's a big pay-per-view fight. It's a big fight. And I'll tell you what, I don't know who wins. I don't.
Yeah.
You got a guy coming up a couple weight classes or whatever, but this guy is Crawford. This guy's pretty good. It's not like he, and Canelo, has shown, like you said, has shown some slippage. And we've been talking about this for a minute. Yeah.
The guy's been fighting for 19 years. Mm-hmm. Well, Crawford's been fighting for 15, 16 years. Yeah, but again, Canelo has like 64, 65 fights. Crawford has miles. Crawford only has like 40 fights.
Yeah.
39, 40 fights. The difference.
A lot of miles on him.
One guy has like 24, 5 more fights than the other guy. One guy has had surgery on his knee, had surgery on his wrist. One guy has been showing signs of wear and tear. His body has been broken down to some degree. The other guy really when has Crawford suffered an injury?
Yeah.
When have we ever seen Crawford postpone or pull out of a fight due to injury?
Never.
He's never had any surgeries or anything like that. Canelo has. Like his body's has broken down a bit. So all these things have to be taken into consideration. But again, that weight jump is real. Weight classes are there for a reason.
He's a big guy, man. Canelo's a big dude, man.
But Crawford, in my opinion, is the more talented fighter of the two.
I think so too.
And I think so too. And that has to be weighed into this equation as well.
I agree. John Ryder, Beeb fan favorite John Ryder, has announced his retirement from boxing on Tuesday at age 35 following back-to-back losses. And he looked awful in that loss to Munguia.
Yeah.
He looked completely awful.
Yeah.
That's the worst we've ever seen him look.
Yeah.
In any of his, he looked really, really bad. So yeah, I think he called it off about the right time. I wouldn't want to see him fight again. I think I said that after the fight.
Yeah. I have no problem with this, and I wish him well in the retirement. I think this man probably made a good living.
Yeah.
Should be all set. And I think maybe, he may have a career in broadcasting, or I think he can still make money outside of boxing, whether it be as a broadcaster or as a trainer. I think there's a lot of opportunities for him outside the ring based off of what he's done in boxing. I think he can parlay that into a career outside the ring as well, in my opinion.
Yeah. But broadcasting, let's face it, this guy is no Teddy Atlas. He's not a wordsmith like Teddy Atlas, I'll tell you that.
Well, look at some of those guys they have on DAZN right now talking,
Yeah, fair point. Fair point.
With all due respect, you don't think he's better than some of those guys they already have on there?
I think he's better than all those guys they got on there.
Yeah, because I'm not a big fan of a lot of those guys on DAZN.
He's not better than Teddy Atlas, though. Just saying.
Teddy Atlas is probably one of the worst of all times, but
you mean the best of all time?
That's
See,
why
I corrected you. See how I did that? See,
you
had a slip. I corrected you. That's why we're here. We bounce off of each other. You know what I mean?
That's why the guy got fired from every place he's worked.
I think that's inaccurate. I think he retired. I think there's a big difference between the two.
Check this
big difference. You could say I got fired, but if you're retired, then that's different. Yeah.
Resigning in lieu of termination. Pretty much the same as getting fired.
I guess. Yeah. There you go.
I don't even want to accept the truth, but that's the way it is.
Yeah. Right. I'm in the Teofimo camp. This is a rumor going around, and it's a loose rumor, but Shakur apparently declined a reported $15 million extension with Top Rank.
5 fights, guaranteed $3 million a fight. That's a minimum. That doesn't mean that you can't make
there's
more
upsides to it. Yeah, there's upsides to it.
Doesn't mean you can't make
that.
more than $3 million, but they're guaranteeing him $3 million, which looks like a good deal on the surface. Now, is he wrong to shop himself around? No. But off that last fight, and since he's never been on pay-per-view before, and it's going to be interesting to see if he can get a better deal than what Top Rank is giving him, or will he go the Regis Prograis route and take a deal for less fights and get the money up front without having to stay as long? Like, will he say to himself, okay, maybe I'll do a 2-fight deal here, a 3-fight deal here, and give myself options where I'm not locked in for 2 or 3 years like I was before.
Right.
We'll see what happens, because that's going to be very interesting, because Regis Prograis did have an offer from Top Rank, but it was for more money, but it was a longer commitment, and he didn't want to do that. Sometimes fighters, athletes don't want to give that long commitment because they want to be able to negotiate. Say they have 2 great fights back to back, and then their contract is up. They can negotiate and shop themselves around and maybe get more money because of there's pluses and minuses to this.
I mean, it sounds like a good contract to me. He's still he's still not a household name.
No.
So no. I don't know.
And Top Rank does do a good job building fighters, and obviously fighters reach a certain peak and they have left, like Cotto, Mayweather, De La Hoya. There's a history of Pacquiao left too, once they got all they could out of Top Rank, and there's no hard feelings with that. But has Shakur Stevenson reached that level that those other fighters reached before they left? No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Maybe you're at a time like Crawford was with them for a while. He signed an extension with them, right? But then when he needed to leave, he left, and then he got the biggest fight of his career, 700,000 pay-per-view buys, made great money in that fight. But again, Shakur Stevenson has not let this process run its course, in my opinion. He's not where those guys were, anywhere close to where those guys were before they left. So I'm not sure this will be a great decision. But again,
yeah.
I'm not a manager, but
you got to wonder who he's got advising him and all that other stuff. So if this is the case, I mean, again, it's a rumor. Who knows?
Yeah, I have a feeling he'll probably re-sign when it's all said and done.
I think so too. I mean, that's a good deal. That seems to be a good deal.
Yeah,
he's not going to fight. And again, if you have pay-per-view, you got the upside from that. This is not a or go to DAZN and get a $350 million deal that never pans out.
Yeah, you're not going to get that.
Yeah. All right, Beeb. Super Bowl is today at 6:00. Taylor Swift will be there, I'm sure, to support her man. Beeb, who are you going for in this? Kansas City or Frisco?
Well, we had a meeting yesterday with the people over at Beeb Industries.
The top brass.
Yeah.
I noticed I wasn't invited, by the way. I'm just saying.
Well,
listen, I was a little hurt by that. That's all I'm saying.
This is the gambling sector of the business where you're
It's true.
This isn't your forte.
That's true. Very true.
And we're going with the Chiefs. We're going to take the 2 points. We're going to go with the Chiefs here.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. I think that San Francisco is the more complete team. I think that the Chiefs do have that mystique about them now with, that they're this unbeatable team or whatever, or they always manage to, turn it up right around playoff time as good teams do. They seem to get a lot of the calls that go in their way. San Francisco has got Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk. Their quarterback is not going to lose the game for them. They have a good defense. I think Frisco wins, and I think they cover. And I think they win pretty convincingly.
The game's virtually a pick 'em, so it's a tough one. Either way you go. I mean, either team has a legitimate path to victory here.
Yeah.
But I think the Chiefs have momentum. I think
it's a big deal.
Yeah, I think the 49ers, they had to push themselves to the limit to get their victory in their last game.
Yeah.
Whereas the Chiefs, I thought the Chiefs won pretty handily. So we'll see how it plays out. It's very interesting.
Now, your brother is picking the Chiefs, correct?
Yeah, my brother's
He's picking the Chiefs.
He's been on.
He has been on a roll.
Man.
He has been on a roll. So if you're betting, I don't know about you. Like I said, I think the Niners are going to win. But if I'm betting, I might be picking the Chiefs right now because Beeb's brother is like a savant when it comes to playoff football. All right. He has been on a roll. So and I'll tell you what.
You're going to ride the wave with him right now.
Yeah, I may ride the wave with him right now. Tell you that. The Chiefs got lucky versus the Bills. Bills just can't finish, man. I think that's their issue. They just couldn't finish that game. They had that game. They should have won that game. Should have absolutely won that game. All right, guys, we'll go and enjoy the Super Bowl tonight. We'll be back to our normal time next week. That'll do it for this edition of Ringside Reporter. As always, you can catch Joe Habib on X at jhabib1. Find our YouTube channel at ringsidereporterlive.com. And you can find me on X at ringside73. Guys, we will see you next week.